Hey everyone, I finally finished S by J.J. Abrams and Dorst, so I want to tell you about it. First of all, I have to say that it took me a lot longer to read it than I expected. The book is about 450 pages long, but due to all the writing in the margins, I'd say you could also give it 600 or 700 pages. So let's first look at the book. It comes in this nice box, and I would recommend that you keep it because of all the extra stuff that is in the book. The book itself is a hardcover with a really nice imprint of the ship here. It's very beautiful, and you can see it's made out to be a library book. In the front it says book for loan, and I still have a rubber band as a bookmark so that nothing falls out if I open the book. And in the back you can see when this book was taken out of the library. So looking at the book, you notice it's not called S, it's called Ship of Theseus by V.M. Straker. And that is what this whole story is about. It's a story about people reading the book. That's what S is. So let's start with the library book. The Ship of Theseus by V.M. Straker is a story about a person called S, and he appears one day in a city, doesn't have a memory, and then he gets shanghaied, put on a ship where all the people have their lips sewn and they can't talk and nobody talks to him, and he's just forced to do things. But he doesn't remember anything, he doesn't know who he doesn't know where he is, and he's basically interested in escaping from the ship, and yeah, the story progresses. That is the story of the novel Ship of Theseus. But there's more to it, because V.M. Straker died before he finished the book. So we have an introduction chapter by his translator, and we have footnotes by his translator, sometimes explaining things and sometimes giving hints to Straker or about the author and what's going on there. And then there are also Jen and Eric, the two people writing in the margins of the book. They don't know each other in the beginning of the book. They just write in the margins and pass the book back and forth without ever meeting. And they discuss the book. They discuss the author, V.M. Straker, because there is a mystery about him. And that's a huge part of the book and the story, that no one knows who this Straker person really is. So these three narrative elements construct the book S. And it's really interesting to read. There are different ways of reading it. I heard that people read the Ship of Theseus book first and then looked at the margins. I couldn't really do that because for me, the book itself was not really that interesting. What I found more interesting are the things that happened in the margins. And that is really interesting. Yes, there are some spoilers because they talk about things that happen later, but it's not like they're spoiling the story. It's more that they're trying to figure out and solve the mystery that's in the book and that's about the book, the translator, the author, the things that happen in the book and the connections to reality. We could say they're a little bit over-interpreting the book or reading things into things, but maybe not. Maybe this is all a code, and this is what fascinated me. The way they studied the book, the way they used the book, and the things they discovered with the book. So how I read the book was that whenever there was a comment or something was underlined or in brackets, I read that part in the novel first, and then I read the notes by Jen and Eric and the conversation they had about this part. And that way I took much more out of the story than by reading the book first and then reading the notes. But that was just my impression. Also because what interested me most in this story was the relationship between Jen and Eric. It was really interesting to see how they used the book to communicate. Sometimes they just underlined a sentence that was saying something that was important to them and then commenting on it. And we learn a lot about Jen's life, about Eric's life. They put in all these little extras. There are postcards, pictures, and letters they write to each other, but not all their communication is in the book. Later on, as the time progresses, we know that they start writing emails, they start seeing each other, and things happen outside of the book. And sometimes you're like, oh no, what happened here? I don't get it. And I really liked that. I liked how you get involved into the story of those two people and how they are still figuring out this book and how they're communicating, how their relationship starts all over. Another thing I thought was really interesting about the book is how many themes it has. The book talks a lot about choices. The character in Ship of Theseus has to make a lot of choices. Jen has to make choices. The translator has to make choices. Eric has to make choices, and how these choices influence their future and their present and their whole being. Also the theme of trust and love, like how people have to trust each other in the story of the book. Jen and Eric, and just everything, how this is discussed and how difficult it is. Also the theme of names in combination with identity. Our main character S doesn't really have a name, and other people keep changing their names, and the author doesn't really exist maybe with this name, but he might have other names. Like, there are people, I think Jen is the only person who has only one name and never lied about that. Also, I really like the mystery about the author and about the book and everything there, and the part with the communication. I love how the authors use the communication in the book, because we have Jen and Eric communicating with the book inside the book. We have the translator and the author also communicating with the book. And also we have people talking about writing in the margins in the book, and Jen and Eric write in the margins, and they always have the feeling that someone else is reading the book, which of course is you, the reader. It just enhanced the reading experience of reading something where you're basically involved but you're not really, and you feel like you're reading and intruding someone's privacy, but well, it's meant to be that. It's a library book, right? I guess what I'm trying to say is this book has a lot to offer. There are many things in it that keep you glued to the pages, that keep you thinking about it. You need to step back a while and think about it. Also, in the ending, the last sentence, I'm not going to spoil it. First, I thought, oh my god, this is that. And then after thinking about it one day, I had a completely different interpretation for that last sentence. And I love that. I love that books can do that. They make you think about it, and you can change your opinion or your view of the book. And I hope I will get to it to read it again one day. If you've read S, let me know what your experience was, and if you haven't yet, go get it.